put yourself ahead of LeBron?
As a team standpoint.
Would you put yourself ahead of LeBron as a team standpoint?
My success as a team is more successful than LeBron. I got 6 rings.
Okay, so then if I talk to an NBA owner, by the way, this is very helpful because realize this is very helpful because for me as a fan, I've followed this. So if I speak from an NBA standpoint, owner, and I want to find an all-around player,
Scottie Pippen
just went for the throat, claiming LeBron James literally ducks the hardest competition every single time. The crazy thing? Big media hasn't even scratched the surface yet. This all went down in early 2025 during an interview that stunned everyone. Pippen wasn't shouting or acting aggressive about it either. He was chilling, super calm, like he'd been sitting on this truth for a decade and finally just decided to let it rip. What he said didn't just start a fight, music. It hit LeBron's legacy like a sledgehammer hitting a sheet of thin, fragile glass. Music! This was no accident. Pippen pointed out a specific habit, a routine he thinks LeBron has been leaning on since his very first day. And once he started breaking it down piece by piece, you honestly couldn't look away from what was being said. When you're asked how you want to be viewed, you said you want to go down as the absolute greatest ever. Look, I say those kinds of things because when you play at the level I did, why shouldn't I claim that title? Hey, that's fine, you're allowed to say that. Nobody is stopping you. Say it and actually stand behind it, because we all know you truly believe it's true. Check the stats. I've got 6 rings myself. To really grasp why Pippen's words sting so much, you have to look at the timing. It wasn't just random luck. It is 2026, and music LeBron is being praised as a god in every sports circle. We're talking endurance, GOAT rankings, and constant coverage on every single sports music outlet you can think of. He's being compared to the gods of the game in ways that seemed impossible 15 years ago. His story felt sealed, almost perfect. Then Pippen sits down, is greater than, music is greater than, and basically sets the whole narrative on fire in a single moment. Now, here is the kicker. Scottie has never been the type to stay quiet about what is on his mind. He's trashed Michael Jordan, caused a stir with his book, and never runs from a fight. But this time, music. This felt deeper, like years of built-up frustration finally boiling over. People in the league were already whispering about this sit-down music, before the footage even leaked to the public. That is how fast the word travels when someone like Pippen attacks a star as protected as LeBron, and everyone wanted to know. Music. What did he actually say? Here's the direct quote. Whenever the moment gets too heavy, he finds an exit. I've watched it happen too many times to keep my mouth shut. 6 seconds. 6 seconds. That is all it took. Music to completely blow up the basketball conversation. But trust me, Pippen was just getting started with his critique. He kept pushing, really examining what he thinks music separates a true legend from everyone else in the league. He talked about how real greatness only shows up when the walls close in and there is no easy way to escape. You either stand tall or you fold. Unless he wins 4 championships in a row, okay, then maybe we can talk. That is real pressure. But LeBron has dealt with heat his whole career. Going to Los Angeles doesn't actually make it harder. Maybe in that tiny bubble of Los Angeles people have high hopes, but globally, LeBron's reputation is already set, right, Beck? Wait, sorry, I meant Will. My bad. Is greater than laughter, is greater than just another white guy with a beard. We don't all look the same, man, we really don't. Well, I see Mac's laughter trimmed his beard down, so maybe you can finally tell us apart now. Look, Pippen essentially says LeBron never fully embraced that fire. The legends I respect, they didn't pick and choose their moments. They stayed and they fought every time. If you watch that clip, look at him, don't just listen to the words, watch the man. Look at his eyes and his hands. This isn't a guy looking for a viral headline or attention. This feels like a person finally venting what's been eating at him for years. This wasn't a comment, it was a final verdict. The hoops world lost its mind instantly. Within 2 hours, the story had taken over music, every single social media platform. But during all that chaos, most fans totally missed the actual point Pippen was making. He wasn't just critiquing one specific play. He was talking about LeBron's entire legacy, music. Imagine LeBron's career as a map of major choices. Every time things got suffocating or the path got difficult, something changed. The path shifted. And that is the one thing people are usually too afraid to say out loud. Scottie knew exactly what he was doing too. People are too intimidated to say it because of who he is, but someone had to. And in his mind, the evidence is right there if you are actually willing to open your eyes. When the Heat got music intense, or the roster felt weak, or a rival felt like a brick wall, Pippen says LeBron's move was always the same. A fresh start, a complete reset, basically a whole new game board stacked in his favor. Look, let's be real. Pippen never said LeBron lacked talent. Far from it. He spelled it out. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm saying his choices reveal his true heart as a competitor. That's the real sting. See, in Pippen's world, the one he shared with Jordan, you never changed the scenery just to feel safe. You stood firm. You clawed through the dirt, even when it was brutal. Pippen thinks LeBron just never fully bought into that gritty style of play. When those clips went viral in early 2025, things got wild. The divide was instant. The internet basically cracked in half overnight, and everyone had something loud to say about it. LeBron's die-hard fans came out swinging loud, angry, and ready to end the debate. They labeled Pippen bitter and completely out of line. Pure jealousy, waving championship rings and record books in his face. People argued that a guy who rode shotgun with Michael Jordan has no business questioning anyone's drive to win. But then you had the other side. Fans who felt like Scottie finally voiced what they'd been whispering for years. They'd spotted the patterns and the strategic moves before, but they never really knew how to describe it until now. Suddenly, Scottie's words were everywhere, just playing on a loop, over and over again. Retired pros started chiming in too. Some went public, others whispered in podcasts or private chats that eventually leaked to the world. Their take wasn't as black and white as the internet fights. It was way more complex, more measured, you know? Plenty of them got exactly what Pippen was getting at, even if they lacked the guts to say it so bluntly. But check this out, this is the weird part. LeBron's entire team stayed absolutely silent. No clapbacks, no cryptic posts, nothing. And honestly, sometimes that kind of silence screams louder than any press release ever could. It gets deeper, though. This wasn't just a random outburst from Scottie. There's a whole backstory here that most people totally missed. Scottie's been out here battling for his own legacy for a long, long time. His bond with Jordan is messy. He's admitted himself that things were never easy between them. His memoir ruffled feathers and caused major friction. For decades, the hoops world tried to keep him in one specific lane. It's obvious he's done playing that role. He's not staying in that box anymore. An all-time great, sure, but always the sidekick. Always standing in a giant's shadow. Now he watches LeBron get crowned as the greatest of all time, even though Scottie feels he didn't have to bleed for it like the legends before him. See, this isn't just a shot at LeBron. It's a question about what greatness actually stands for. There was this one line Scottie dropped that flew under the radar, but it might be the key to this whole thing. When you talk about the GOAT, talk about the guy who stayed and fought, not the one who moved for an easier path. That's not just a dig. It's a philosophy. It's Scottie drawing a line in the sand and saying that greatness isn't just about the box score. It's about not flinching when the world starts falling apart around you. Agree or not, that kind of talk makes you stop and think. So, where are we now? It is now 2026, and Scottie hasn't walked back a single syllable. Not one. LeBron hasn't said a word. And the debate is only getting hotter with zero signs of slowing down, because honestly, both sides have a real point. You can view LeBron as a chess master, a guy who played the long game and stayed at the top longer than anyone thought possible. Or you can see it through Pippen's lens, a player who looked for an exit ramp when the heat got turned up too high. Look, the facts are the facts. The timeline is set in stone. What really matters is how you choose to see the story. That's why this conversation just won't die. There isn't some perfect answer or a final buzzer that ends this. It's just two totally different ways of reading the same book. And depending on your perspective, one of those stories just feels more right than the other. LeBron's never been shy about the limelight. But the real question Scottie is asking is, did he ever actually choose the hardest path available? Scottie didn't just talk. He issued a challenge. Not just to King James, but to the media, the fans, and anyone who's ever debated hoops until 3 a.m. The fact that big-name sports networks are avoiding the topic speaks volumes. It's an uncomfortable question to answer. But here is where it gets interesting. Once people really listened to Scottie, they stopped looking at LeBron's career as a whole and started scrutinizing individual moments. Matchups, championships, the choices, everything. Music. Suddenly, it's center stage again. People are revisiting those high-stakes moments. Music. They're asking that same nagging question, what truly went down when the pressure hit? Glory once celebrated is being looked at differently. We aren't ignoring history, just viewing it through a much more critical lens. That's where things get really tense. See, celebrating a legend is the easy part, is greater than music, is greater than, but scrutinizing the foundation of that success, that's another. Old clips surfaced, experts chimed in, and fans analyzed every frame. Opinions clashed, but one reality stayed clear. The whole narrative flipped, and there is no going back to the old ways. Plenty of folks called foul. They argued that every legend has their low points, their bad breaks, and their failures. They've got a point. Yet everyone kept gravitating back to Pippen's core argument. It isn't just about losing. It's how you react when there's no escape. That's the detail that sticks. Suddenly, rings and stats feel like secondary news. The talk shifted to mindset, decision-making, and how a superstar handles legacy-defining moments. Even the new generation kids who never saw these games live are drawing lines based on the viral clips flooding their feeds. This stopped being a simple sports debate. It became a total collision of ideals, and through it all, Pippen's commentary just keeps getting louder with every single replay. Whether you think he's right or wrong, he forced the world to reconsider what being a legend means. And once that seed of doubt is planted, you can't just unsee it. That's why it's polarizing. He didn't offer a simple solution. He gave them a question they can't stop thinking about. Now we're right back at the start because this transcends a single interview or one man's take. We're left with a question that's here to stay. What is the true essence of greatness? Pippen sparked that fire, and nobody has been able to walk away. Regardless of your stance, you have to admit this conversation cuts deep. LeBron's career is obviously top tier. Records, music, longevity, and dominance. That most players can't imagine that part is undisputed. Yet Pippen's take created a brand new perspective. A view that forces you to re-watch the tape and doubt what you used to believe. That's why this fire keeps spreading. It's messy, it's complicated, and your answer depends entirely on your basketball philosophy. Some will ride with LeBron, claiming that being the best is about constant evolution and outlasting the entire league. Others are firmly in Pippen's camp, believing that true legends never shy away from the most difficult road possible. Two worlds, one massive debate, and no closure in sight. But one thing is for certain. This wasn't just a flash in the pan, it fundamentally altered how we define legends. Now, I want your take. Where do you land? Is Pippen onto something, or does LeBron's resume say everything that needs saying? Let me know what you're thinking down in the comments. This whole discussion is just starting. If this breakdown hit home, Hit like, subscribe, and send this to a friend. We've got more deep dives and stories lined up for you soon. Don't go anywhere. I will see you in the next video.